Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially time to talk about the playoffs. Because the playoffs start this Saturday night, round 1 for the Boston Bruins, as they are taking on the number 2 ranked in the East, Washington Capitals. Boston finishing 3rd in the division, clinching that 3rd about a week ago, and they've been kind of coasting, more or less, going into this playoff series, including so much so that they played the entire Providence Bruins team against the very Washington Capitals team a couple of days ago. Anyway, Boston finishing the year with a 33-16-7 record. That is good for 73 points. 73 points in a 56-game season. Utterly ridiculous. Very impressive record. Equally impressive, of course, is the Washington Capitals, who finished 36-15-5 for 77 points, also in the East Division, tied technically with the number 1 seed overall in the Pittsburgh Penguins, but Pittsburgh having more wins than Washington clinches the division. Anyway, this is going to be a close series. Find out just how close on this, the Bruins Recap Show.
Boston Bruins!
So, man, is it going to be a close series between the Boston Bruins and the Washington Capitals. The season series alone, Boston being able to take points out of 6 out of 8 games, with a record of 4-2-2. So, technically, these two teams split the season series at 4 wins apiece. The way that goals for in the series broke down in the regular season, Boston acquiring 26 goals in those 8 games. Washington, 24 goals in those 8 games. So, it's neck and neck. It's neck and neck the entire way throughout between these two teams. And this is going to be a physical series because of, one, Tom Wilson and Trent Frederick. Probably also toss in Kevin Miller in there. These two teams don't like each other at all. So, more importantly, let's figure out who exactly has the advantage going into the series, and maybe even have a prediction at the end of this video. So hang on tight as we talk about goaltending. Boston started 4 different goaltenders this season, although we are only going to talk about the 2 that are going to be relevant to this series, that being 2 U's, 2 K's, Tuukka Rask, finishing the season with 24 games played and a 15-5-2 record with a 2.28 goals against average and a .913 save percentage and 2 shutouts on the season. On the other side with him as well, the backup possibly could even be qualified to be the starter. He's been playing so well. Jeremy Swayman, Rookie of the Year, don't at me. 7-3-0 in 10 games played on the season with a 1.50 goals against average. Let me repeat that. In 10 games, a sub-2 goals against average with a .945 save percentage. Also, 2 shutouts on the season. Washington will bring to the table Vitek Vanacek with a 21-10-4 record in 37 games. He puts up a 2.69 goals against average with a .908 save percentage. Also, 2 shutouts on the season. Vanacek is also in his first season in the NHL. Behind him will be Ilya Samsonov, more likely than not. Samsonov in 19 games this season, 13-4-1, with a 2.69 goals against average as well, and a .902 save percentage and 2 shutouts. So, 100% according to Bruce Cassidy, it is going to be Jeremy Swayman backing up Tuukka Rask in the playoffs, beating out the 35-year-old veteran Yaroslav Halak, who was not much of a slouch this year either, putting up pretty decent, if not, not Halak-like numbers, but still respectable numbers in the season, although he's been in and out of the lineup, hurt and a little shaky towards the very end. Either way, good on Jeremy Swayman for getting in. The numbers don't lie here. Boston easily has the better goaltending going into this series based off of regular season numbers. Tuukka Rask has looked phenomenal over the last couple of games. Jeremy Swayman has been incredible in all 10 games that he has played this season. And we don't know kind of what to expect from Vanecek or Samsonov. If Samsonov's even healthy, I believe that is a concern for Washington. Vanecek has been on and off and shaky, and he kind of helps with the way the Washington Capitals want to play. But easily the goaltending matchup, in my opinion, going to the Boston Bruins. Let's move on to scoring. And for the Washington Capitals, it's all about goals, baby. 188 goals for, tied for second in the NHL. They average 3.36 goals for per game, third in the NHL. And their power play is ridiculous with 24.8% power play effectiveness. Good for third in the NHL. For the Boston Bruins, they have only scored 164 goals for on the season. That puts them at 13th, although earlier in the year that was much lower. They have gotten a lot more goal scoring since the trade deadline. That puts them at a 2.93 goals against per game, also 13th in the NHL. And their power play, still top 10, 21.9% on the power play. Just looking at those numbers alone, Washington wants a high-scoring game. It's what they thrive at. So, taking a look at some individual statistics, the top 5 players from each team as far as points go. For the Washington Capitals, it is Nicholas Backstrom, 15 goals, 38 assists for 53 points on the season. Followed that up by John Carlson, 10 goals, 34 assists, and 44 points on the season. TJ Oshie next, 22 goals, their biggest goal scorer next to Alexander Ovechkin. We'll get to him in a second. 21 assists for 43 points, 1 point behind, that's Ovechkin. 24 goals, 18 assists, 42 points for the grade 8. And following that up is the garbage Tom Wilson, 13 goals, 20 assists for 33 points. He has less points than penalty minutes. That is Tom Wilson in a nutshell. Moving on, individual statistics. Boston has the best player in this series. Do not at me. The numbers do not lie. Brad Marchand finishing with 29 goals on the season, 40 assists for a nice 69 points on the year. Following that up is Patrice Bergeron, 23 goals, 25 assists, 48 points. And David Pastrnak, 20 goals, 28 assists, also 48 points. David Krejci coming in next. He's had a spectacular trade deadline, or post-trade deadline, because he's actually got wings to play with. 8 goals. Took him a while to get those 8, but he's got 8. 36 assists on the season for 44 points. Low-key underrated 44 points, if you ask me, for this season. Taylor Hall is next. 10 goals. He scored 8 goals since becoming a Boston Bruin. He loves it here. 23 assists for 33 points for Taylor Hall. But Washington is the more balanced scoring team. Because after the top 2 lines for Boston, it's Nick Ritchie and who else? Charlie Coyle hasn't really produced as much as you'd like him to. Jake DeBrusk is a ghost for most of the season. Don't know where he has been, at least as far as putting up points. And the rest of the bottom 6 for Boston, not really much of a point threat, as it is Washington a lot better depth. Their third line can score. Their fourth line can put up some points as well. So, with a more balanced scoring attack and also more scoring overall on the season series, Washington definitely taking the advantage in the offensive category. Which leads us to our final category, and that is team defense. Now, for the Washington Capitals, their penalty kill, surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. 84% effectiveness on the PK. That is 4th in the NHL. But they come in with a 49.2% face-off win percentage, 22nd in the NHL. Their best point, or their best face-off man, Nick Dowd, a 4th liner for them, 56.25%. He's 11th in the NHL as far as that category goes. They allow 28.8 shots against per game, 11th, and goals against, they're 18th in the league with 161, allowing 2.88 goals per game. But that's kind of the style Washington plays. They're a run and gun. They don't mind winning games 6-4, 7-3. They will run a track meet game with you, and they are more than happy to do so. Boston, on the other hand, a bit different, as they are 86% on the penalty kill. The Boston Bruins penalty kill is phenomenal. Second in the NHL. And not only that, they have the best face-off percentage with a 55.2% face-off win, first in the NHL, and the best face-off man in the league, the soon-to-be 6-time Selke Trophy winner, 62.24% face-off wins for Patrice Bergeron. And not much slouch behind him. They have another one in the top 25 in the face-off dot, that being David Krejci coming in at 54.22, number 24 in the league. Just 1 and 2. They're a fantastic face-off team. And that could actually be a massive difference, because face-off wins does usually mean that you're going to be controlling possession at least the early goings. So the Boston Bruins also add 27.1 shots attempts per game. That's second in the NHL. Follow that up, 134 goals allowed on the season, fourth in the NHL, which makes them a 2.39 goals against per game, third in the NHL in that statistic. Defensively, it is two completely different strategies. Washington with the run and gun, high scoring, high octane affair. Boston Bruins, a much more structured, strong defensive approach, and then, getting possession and then going and attacking. Two different philosophies, but defensively the numbers don't lie. The face-off dot puts the Bruins easily over the top in this area. Advantage defensively for the Boston Bruins. A couple of things to keep in mind here as we go into the final bit of this. The big thing here for Boston, stay out of the penalty box. If the Boston Bruins commit a lot of penalties, they're going to be in for a rough time, because that is TJ Oshie, Tom Wilson, Alexander Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, and John Carlson. If I haven't already said him, if I didn't, I mean TJ Oshie. Either way, that five power play unit is nasty, and they will put up points in a hurry, regardless of how good the Boston Bruins penalty kill is. So much so that the most effective team on the power play against the Boston Bruins has been the Washington Capitals, because of that combination of talent. With that being said, this is going to be maybe the single most entertaining 2-3 matchup, possibly the most entertaining series in the entirety of the first round of the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs. If you are not watching this series, I don't know if you like hockey. We'll put it that way. That's how entertaining this is going to be. And for somebody like me, who is a massive Bruins fan, so much so that I talk about it on a YouTube channel, it's going to be very stressful. It's going to go 7. There is no doubt in my mind that this series does not go 7. I might even say I'd be disappointed if it doesn't go 7, unless the Bruins pull off some miraculous thing and sweep them. Then I might not be as disappointed. But, so, in my humble opinion, it is going to be the Boston Bruins who prevail in this series 4-3. They win it in 7 and move on to the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Please post your opinions on how this series goes and all other series in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Tell me your predictions, your brackets, and all that down in the comments section below. Give this video a big old thumbs up. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Follow all my social medias that I try as best as I can to post in the description box below. We will see you next time. I don't know whether I'm going to do individual game recaps or if I'm just going to recap the series when it ends. I'm leaning more towards recapping the entire series when it ends, and then, previewing the next series, probably, possibly even in the same video, maybe not, we'll see. Until then, enjoy the series, it's gonna be fun, and stay tuned for more on the Bruins Recap Show.